UMBA family, so grateful to see you all and to be back. This is season 2 of our UMBA Conversations. In my first year as moderator, one of the things we wanted to do was to use this platform to kind of help everybody understand how we got here. We heard from our previous moderators. We spoke to current leadership, what their vision was, what our operations were, what our programming was. And as we come now to season 2, we now want to take on issues that are challenges for our constituency and the people to whom we serve. This is a very important election year. When you go to the polls this November, there is an opportunity for you to vote on a tax increase that may sound minor, but there is major implications as it relates to roads and our rail system in and around Mecklenburg County. This is a consequential election and a consequential opportunity for us to vote on this critical issue. And so in this episode 1, we have some very important people on both sides of the argument who are going to build their case. And then hopefully from here, you'll go make the decision as the Lord leads you. But let us prepare our hearts and minds to hear from them. This is episode 1 of season 2, UMBA Conversations. Glad to have you here.
Hello, my name is Jamal Donaldson Briggs, and it gives me great pleasure to join you in this recent installment of UMBA Conversations. We kind of got here because our moderator, Dr. Farrell, has been following the transit tax referendum conversation very intimately, and we impaneled this group of experts and activists and politicians who will bring a diversity of experiences and perspectives to this conversation. What we want to do is speak directly to pastor and pew. So what we hope that you would get from this is an organic conversation directed to you, for you. Now, with that being said, I would like each of our guests to introduce themselves, starting on my left.
Hello, I'm David Howard. I don't know how far to go into that, but I'm with D.L. Howard Consulting, former Charlotte City Council member. I'll leave it at that.
Tell it all.
I'm Bobby Drakeford. I'm a real estate developer professionally, but I'm very engaged in a lot of community discussion centered in all facets of West Charlotte, including Batesford Road, where I reside. I'm also here as a spokesperson, I feel, for the West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
I'm DeAlva Arnold, President and CEO of D. Wilson Agency, and also on the leadership team for the Yes for Met campaign for the sales tax referendum. I've been in the community for almost 30 years, and also as a community member, I bring a perspective around what I think to be the needs for our community.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Mark Jerrell. I serve on the Board of County Commissioners here in Mecklenburg County. I do serve as chair. Jamal, I guess you said you had politicians here. I guess that would be me, but I consider myself a public servant.
Duly noted. Duly noted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service. So let's just kind of just dive right into it, if you don't mind. I think the question on everyone's mind, particularly amongst our members, is what's in it for me? Very simple, but I think the answer is very complex. So just to kind of jump in, what do you think is in it for community members and why they should support it?
He's looking at me, so I guess I need to talk.
In general, I'm looking.
So I think what's in it for every citizen, and especially people in the community that I grew up in, is an opportunity to have a system that actually serves its full community. There's something in this plan that would cover every part of our community. As a matter of fact, the one thing I'd like to remind people is that the 3 big projects, the line running north and the Silver Line and the Gold Line, out of the 3 of those, 2 of them run east and west. They're running into our communities, And if I do the math right between that and the buses, that's almost a $10 billion local dollar investment. So what's in it for us is an opportunity to make sure that every part of our community has access to mass transit, so you don't have to be dependent on a car to live in this community.
Okay. Southerners, we love our cars. What would you say, Councilman?
So there's a couple of things. One, I think David is spot on with what he said. What I would add to that is that if we zoom out at a macro level, we are rapidly growing. We're a community, everywhere I go, I tell people this ain't Mayberry. We have 157 people a day moving here. It is important that we are able to keep up with that pace of growth. Expansion of transit is one of those components that we need to invest in if we're going to do that. It's not the only component, but it's certainly one. It's a major component, and it's an opportunity that we have right now to take a look at that and certainly make sure that we're leveraging everything we can to invest in different communities, particularly as it relates to transit.
Certainly, I concur with what's been said before. There are a few things that really resonate with this plan for me. And one is that this plan is for the entire community. So all socioeconomic levels and for business. So it's for people and for business. It is accomplishing a few things. It's accomplishing access for people who don't currently have it. And it's also accomplishing quicker access for those of us who do have cars who are tired of being stuck in congestion. So at a basic level, that's it. But it goes deeper than that in terms of looking at, and I hope we get a chance to talk about some of the details today. But one of the things that resonates with me most is just the number of jobs that will come online. This is a $19.4 billion plan that we get to bring into this community. Those are dollars that we need. And along with those dollars, there's about 1.3 million jobs that will come over a 30-year period. So there's an opportunity to bring really new industry into our community and really change the trajectory of people now who don't have jobs, and also for those who need better paying jobs. We get to bring those online. But this plan, because it is a countywide plan, then says you don't have to depend on transportation to get there, because you should have a public transit stop or a micro transit that you're able to call that's very near you. And so it's about access and opportunity. Not only jobs, but access to healthcare, access to education and workforce development and training programs, all through public transit. So it brings a lot of things online that aren't necessarily said, because you see a lot that's talking about congestion. We want to fix that for sure. Synchronized green lights and those types of things, rapid rail, those types of things we certainly want, but we can't lose sight of what it really means for the people.
You know, in terms of what it means for me, I think at the core, this is an economic development initiative. And when I look at it that way, and I think about it from a duality as a developer and a resident of a community, my question really boils down to who gets the primary economic benefit. So I have 4 projects that need transit to help it be successful. And so I understand what it means for me professionally, but I'm just struggling with what it means to many of the folks who vote for it in terms of economic impact on their day. You know, I don't know that there is going to be an economic catalyst due to more buses, for example, which is considered the primary, benefit for certain folks. I've asked several times for someone to give me an example of how microtransit or buses have created a job in an area where a lot of people are. So it's certainly beneficial to get to other areas to go to work and I guess spend your money while you're there. But I'm kind of curious about how we can spread that economic growth around. I know the tax can't address every goal or ill of this community. So contextually, we need to be reasonable about that. But, I think that when we look at the economic outcomes, when it's all said and done, the areas that are getting rail will generally be more prosperous. Light rail and commuter rail, the streetcar hasn't done that. So I think broadly, this economic initiative is going to certainly create opportunity. But for me, I'm not sure how my neighborhood's going to change because of what's being invested. I'm not sure.
Well, economic development has to be looked at more broader than just real estate. I mean, what we just shared is that the real benefit is the jobs that it brings. I mean, economic development, Bobby, is more than just real estate. I mean, real estate is a part of it, and I think I just explained. And you know, Silver Line is going to have the same benefit that we know light rail has every place else, and it's running west, east and west. I disagree with you on streetcar. I think streetcar is not going to be the only thing that drives development along Batesville Road. There are other things that need to be addressed, and they need to be dealt with. But once that is, it will absolutely have the same, because we've seen it in other cities do the same thing. But I also want us to remember that it's about jobs. I mean, you know, so if I can get on mass transit and get to a job faster, that's really how I'm going to improve my life. It's not whether or not just my house appreciates, it's whether or not I can actually make enough money to live any place I want to live, including in my neighborhood. So jobs to me is another big piece of this.
That's true. And I didn't say that it was not an economic benefit. I asked, how do these areas transform due to this type of investment? So certainly getting to a job easier is beneficial.
So go ahead, DeAlva.
You know, one of the ways that you can transform an area is actually transforming the people. So this is really about not necessarily about an investment in a particular project. We're talking about investing in the people. So as we talk about some of the things that we're concerned about, we want to start at the bottom up and say, how do we make sure that that household, that father and the mother in that household has an opportunity to earn more for their community. So some of the things that they're concerned about today don't have to be concerns of the future. That's what this brings. So when we talk about economic development, we want to talk about it in terms of economic mobility. I think about it diverse, which is economic mobility, which is within scope for this plan is lower income, middle income, upper income, all socioeconomic levels, and business. So we're talking about economic mobility for people, economic development for businesses. We hear from a lot of businesses often who are struggling because they can't get people to their jobs. And so when they're asking people to come to work, they're not asking them to come for free, right? They're asking people to come. So when we drive around today, we see a lot of people in our communities who don't have anything to do during the course of the day. What we want to do is say, you have an opportunity. There's work underway currently to assess the skills that will be needed to come online, and so that workforce development programs can be developed and created based on those specific skills, based on the jobs that will be needed as a result of this plan, this transportation plan being implemented over the next 30 years. All of that is currently underway. One of our major supporters is the Urban League and almost all of the workforce development programs here in the city. But Robin Hamilton is the CEO of the Urban League, and she has said that in their last survey, the number one issue for all of their clients is transportation. People can't get to workforce development programs. They can't get to jobs, and so it solves a lot. And I think we belittle the benefit of a person having dignity with a job by saying it's not transforming the community. This plan is actually routing people to job centers. So we can't solve that overnight to make sure that every community is thriving and have businesses. But what we can solve overnight by passing this plan is to say that we can put the bus stops and the rail that's coming online and microtransit is coming online in the first 5 years, that can happen almost overnight, and people can be routed to jobs.
In that example, what isn't happening is an initiative or a force or I guess an investment perhaps that would bring jobs to some of these areas. Now, yes, rail is going down West Boulevard, and that's what this discussion that many of us have engaged in that you, I think, support, to have some dollars for anti-displacement so that the people who are there now can be part of the future. Because jobs do come where rail is going. Mm-hmm. So, but what we're interested in and what's happened is once folks get perhaps some more upward mobility, they leave the areas because they don't want to drive forever to go to work. So yes, there may be better jobs to come out of this, but it'd be better if those jobs were in these areas that would help stabilize them. We can't solve everything with this tax, but you did raise that, so it's fair for me to respond. Absolutely. And that is the effect, that is the life that we live every day. So I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just simply saying that there's some things that would have an impact that we all desire, that Mark works hard for, and you did too in your capacity, that aren't going to happen as it's currently structured. And that is the reality, because once someone makes more money, they out.
So can I jump in real quick, Jamal? So I think it's important for everybody who's listening to this to understand a couple of things. One, you can have two set of facts that are, or two ideas that are both true. They can be diametrically opposed, and they're both true.
Right.
And what you all are really seeing is the way we should engage in these very complex conversations.
Right.
These are not easy things. As a policymaker, I would say this, and David can attest to this as well, as many years he served on City Council and Planning Commission. It's very rare that I get a piece of policy or any sort of initiative that we can enact that is a layup, essentially. It's very complex. There's always these unintended negative consequences. And so I appreciate voices like Bobby, without question, that lift up and say, hey, you guys have to think about these things. I think that's in bounds. I think that's fair. That's the way these discussions should take place. Another perspective on this, as an elected official, as chairman of the county commission with 1.2 million people that sit in this footprint. If you zoom out into the region, we've got close to 3 million in a 17 county radius. One of the things I can tell you is I wish that I could take a small slice, let's just say our friends in Matthews, 30,000 people in Matthews who are upset that the Silver Line isn't going into Matthews. I think that's a legitimate concern. I think it's legitimate, and I wish that I could wave a magic wand and just say, hey, Silver Line's going there. The math is the math, though. The numbers are what they are. Now, as chair of the board and as an elected official, I do have to weigh this idea of 1.2 million people. And if you look at it, if some people make the argument that this is a regional sort of plan as well, you would extrapolate that to the 3 million people. And so the point being is that the concerns that Bobby raises and others in the community, I appreciate those concerns. I think they're legitimate. Those are things that we have to work on absent the legislation. Mm-hmm. Displacement is real. Economic opportunity is real. Economic mobility is real. That's what you can hold us accountable to make sure that we put those mechanisms in place to be able to address those things. I just fall on the side, on balance. I think the final point that I would say is this, is that I wish I had the luxury just to think about our community in 2025. I have to think about 2045 and 55 as well. And that is what weighs very heavily on me, in addition to the things that Bobby has raised as well.
So on the question of providing access and opportunity and economic development, let's kind of bring it down to a more personal level. Like, how do you make the sale, if you allow me to rough shot that, to persons who are living on the margin and can't see past tomorrow, let alone envisioning 20 to 30 years from now? Like, what do you say to low income individuals? I grew up poor in the projects of New York, so I get it. But, you know, who don't see themselves as a part of the community's future?
I'd love to do that. Because as we were talking before we started, I think we all have that same concern about some of the hopelessness that we see in some of our neighborhoods. I see it in my family. I mean, like now. And, you know, watching my nephew as he gets older, not see his place in Charlotte is unnerving. And he sees Uncle David trying to tell him that he can and he should and introduce him to stuff. But what I would tell you is that, you know, just doing the math on this one, maintaining a car, I did this with AI the other day, maintaining a car that's 10 years old still costs you about $7,000 a year. And that's if it doesn't need an engine, right? I mean, if you buy a new car, you're probably spending about $10,000, $12,000 a year. And for a lot of people, DeAlva know this number better than me. How many don't have a working car? 63% of the people that ride buses. So of the 63%, I mean, those people need options. I mean, you know, I used to say this, Mark, when I ran for office, the best economic development plan is the best crime prevention plan. It's a job. I mean, you know, making sure that we can pull people into this economy is what this is all about to me. If we ever get lost on the shiny train and the shiny bus, we've missed the point of transit, which is to give people who don't otherwise have opportunities to participate in our economy. And what I can tell you is that a bus pass for cats right now is about $88 a month, $90 a month. With this tax, which comes down to about another $11 a month for the working poor, we're talking about now needing, you know, equivalent of about, DeAlva told me to stop doing it by year, about $1,200 for a year compared to $7,000 for a 10-year-old car. I mean, this is about pulling people into this economy. What I was going to say a little while ago is that, you know, it's interesting that me and this young man beside you are really good friends. I mean, really. And this has been interesting because this made us have very, very interesting conversations, actually. But to Mark's point, anything that's big is going to do that. And it should do that. We should be having the exact conversations we're having because anything of this size should be talked about. We should talk about those unintended consequences. I grew up on West Boulevard. So I actually kind of see what Bobby's saying, but I see it another way. Because I think for 40 years my mom lived over there, there was no appreciation at all. They didn't have an opportunity to sell and go someplace else. We all, and I'm not taking a jab at anybody, we all left our neighborhoods. Bobby, being a good guy, has come back, but we all took the opportunity to go someplace else. I'd love the opportunity to have the comeback, but I mean, my point is that we've all kind of lived this dream of the appreciation and we like to see things different. Last thing that I'll say is that this idea, because you mentioned this before we started, that, you know, I have worked on this on every level. I mean, really, planning commission, city council, went to Washington with Secretary Fox. You know, I was over policy for the whole country for federal highways. And then I came back as Chief Deputy Secretary at NCDOT, where transit was one of my responsibilities statewide. The idea that we could get the House and the Senate and the General Assembly to agree is a miracle. The fact that we get the House, the Senate, and the governor to agree is a miracle. The fact that we can get Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, and the 6 towns to agree on anything is a miracle. So, I mean, I don't think we should just kind of, you know, haphazardly look over this opportunity to do something that we can kind of take control of ourselves.
Could I respond to
Yeah.
something? So, first, in regards to folks leaving, look, every week I want to leave because I get tired of driving somewhere to go to the doctor, somewhere to go to eat, and there are no office buildings over here that really make sense to work in. So we move because of convenience, and time is the greatest, I think, asset for most of us. You can't get back. So that's my concern about this proposition that microtransit and more buses make things better for you because it still takes your time to go other places. So that's the goal, to say, hey, why are we not spending money to bring some things to these areas? And certainly West Boulevard and Wilson Boulevard's transformation would be desirable. I mean, again, I want a restaurant over here in my neighborhood. They'll get it over there. All we're saying is we ought to put some money up now to make that happen and not wait for tomorrow, not wait for other folks who have not done things that we need them to do to make that commitment. And so we're spending money today to get folks to vote. And all we're saying is, why are we not clearly going to have that same commitment for our areas to retain some level of their character? I mean, the $3 million has been raised to pass this tax to convince people to vote for it. And I have not seen the sponsorship, and I'm waiting on it, by the way, to come and say, well, we have some money to help people stay and keep their homes. That's a fair proposition. So that's what a lot of this dialogue is about. It's not to say you left, you're not a great guy. Great, I moved away too, but I'm saying the money that is being spent, if it does bring those initiatives to these areas, we got to make sure people can stay. In the areas that aren't getting that, it's just how it is. We can't lift everything with one tax. I understand that.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to?
Oh no, I'm trying to let y'all go because y'all know I want to say something.
Okay. So, do you want to talk about the programs?
I'll
first?
go back to
So
displacement.
I do want to clarify because there's so much to unpack there. So thank you so much, Bobby. Bobby and I are good friends too. We're gonna say that.
Absolutely.
And Bobby and I talked about this months ago. We're still gonna be good friends when this is over.
Bobby's
But-
good friends with everybody out there. We're all good friends.
Right.
Everybody loves Bobby.
We truly are all good friends.
No, we really are friends.
They've helped me a lot of stuff. Both of them
Absolutely.
have. To mention David too also.
But I do. It's so much impact. I'm gonna try to be clear and succinct in this.
Sure.
The first thing is we have to separate the sales tax referendum from all the ills and concerns in our community. So we have language and a referendum on the ballot that establishes an investment in a transportation infrastructure for the future. That is it. That is it. And you know I've said this from the very beginning. We talked about this even before I became active on the project, which is we have to do both things. We need to establish the transportation referendum for a future just so that we can grow as a city and not burst at the seams. There are 157 people moving here every day. That's the equivalent of the town of Mooresville moving here every year.
That's 53,000 people coming
So-
to the region.
53,000.
To the area, not
the whole
necessarily
region.
to the
No,
city
to the whole
proper.
region.
To the region.
But it's
To the
adding,
region.
it's adding Mooresville to our region every year.
You're right.
So
And I would even, if you allow me to interject, because I'm the sole transplant of the, from the
We
great state of,
accept you from New York.
but I think the other thing is too, when you look at the individuals and, there's data on that, right? Where they're coming, and they're coming particularly from the Northeast
And
that
local
have
transportation.
robust transportation, systems, mass,
used to it.
mass transportation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that a car is a nuisance. So where do so I think there is also an expectation, even if you don't utilize mass transit, is to have that presence here in the area.
Absolutely.
So I think it ultimately helps in one sense. As Charlotte grows into a world-class city, we also have to be mindful of what that the expectation that comes with that. But we're still looking at what Howard Thurman talks about, on Sunday morning about Jesus and the disinherited. Like, how are we going to help those who feel disinherited and not a part of the process other than getting an increased tax bill? For a system that they may or may not be able to utilize 20 to 30 years down the road.
That's where I was going. So needed for the future, and we need to start thinking about the way that we move and our lifestyle changing and be more public transit dependent. That will happen over time with all of our kids. But the other side of that is that we do have to address some of the issues, but that's not this plan.
Right.
The plan establishes like the law and the language is what it is, and we're passing, hopefully, a transportation plan for the future that does bring jobs, that does bring opportunity. And so it will impact some of those things, but there will still be things that we need to address. But that is a second track. What I do want to make sure that we give credit to is this leader beside me, servant leader beside me, because there are plans and there are conversations. There are plans already underway, both at the county and the city, to address some of those things. Do we need more? Absolutely, absolutely. But I don't think it's fair to say that some of the areas in our community are not being addressed, because they are. For a number of different things in a number of different ways. So I do want to make sure that we just go on record and saying that. There are
And
a lot
I
of
have
people.
learned that is true.
Thank you.
So that sounds like it's a communication problem there.
It
There
is.
is.
Well, government, and somebody gave me a
Government in
contract.
general.
Shocker. Shocker. But
They don't market very well their services.
Well, I
There's
think-
$44 million in anti-displacement available today for communities to work with the city of Charlotte to work on that. There's tax abatement, not a tax abatement, you can't legally say that. Tax assistance, I think you could say that. Programs available through the county. So those things are there, and we should reach out and we should do a better job making sure that people are aware of them. But I do want to I just have to say this. This is really important for our church families to hear, which is that 71% of bus riders are Black. 61% of people on the rail are Black. 80% of them use public transportation as their primary mode of transportation. And 71%, somewhere around 71% on average, use it to get to work. And so we're talking about people who need this. We're not talking about as an option for them. People who are needing this. We talked about the average of 63% of them having a car, but they can't. That's not a working vehicle. That means they have a car, but they can't afford to fix it. For the most vulnerable in our community, it costs them $11 a month. $11 a month. If we could just get them to a minimum wage job, they would have paid the penny on a dollar, the tax burden, back in 2 hours of work by getting them to work. And I just want this conversation to change to me more about empowering people.
Jobs.
Empowering
and another
people.
part that would be equally powerful would be if the authority that makes all these decisions were 67% black, since you mentioned.
We don't know it's not going to be. We don't know that.
And they cannot
And
commit
we don't want
to,
to. We don't want to act as if black that our population is.
You talking about getting sued?
Well, we don't.
No,
Tell
but
me don't do that ahead of
you
time.
talked about the race
We don't know.
composition.
We
So
don't
I'm
know.
saying let's be
But you
consistent
can't-
across
I
the
didn't say
board.
anything
But you
about
can't.
We're not talking about a monolithic community
At all. And
So I think I'm also interested in the inverse of
I
that.
understand what you're saying.
You know, the perception is with the increase of access, what about the people who say not in my backyard for the very reasons which you just listed?
But those are all of the things that come in any sort of initiative or policy. You're going to have
Absolutely.
those segments
Absolutely.
Should
of
have.
folks, right? Yeah. And again, it's incumbent upon us, particularly as leaders, to engage in the community, to hear concerns and address concerns. That's just what it is. I mean, there are reasonable examples and reasons why folks say not in my backyard for whatever reason. Some are legit, some are not legit. But one of the things that I'd like to go back to for just a second is that as people of faith, it is very important for us to always keep our eye and heart pointed towards the least of these. It is very important for us to do that. And at the same time, when you're looking at any issue, we still can't forget about the swath, that 80% of the missing middle that make too much money that they can't get any benefits, right? But not enough to take full advantage of a lot of the economic development type of items that Bobby's referring to. And so in our community, when you look at that missing middle, we have a very healthy African-American middle class that would love options around transportation, would love to be able to put their car up, to be able to ride to work or ride to a point of education, healthcare facility, or any sort of amenity or asset. But I think too often in these conversations, we do not lift up those folks who are really the backbone of the economy. And that is that missing middle that don't get a seat at the table. Their voice is not heard. And it should not come at the exclusion of our brothers and sisters who are struggling. So it should not. But a lot of times you do not hear us talking about those. And I suspect there'll be a lot of folks that watch this that fall into that middle class that say, hey, I'd love to be able to ride to work on a bus or light rail to and work and not drive, not pull the car out if I don't have to until the weekend. The other thing is, as it relates to bus, it was something that was said earlier, and this is, and it's a fact. Bus does not bring out around that development like rail does. We know this. There is no system on the planet, though, that does not leverage bus as the backbone of the system. You cannot build enough rail. First of all, we just don't have the money. We're complaining about a tax now.
Even New York has
even New York
bus.
But you had 3 or 4 buses on 42nd Street backed up.
Trains.
So my only point being is, it's interesting when I hear people like there's some sort of negative stigma around the bus, and I think that's a silly proposition. We're trying to move people en masse. You cannot put rail everywhere. If we're complaining about a tax now, Could you imagine what we'd have to tax to put rail everywhere people are talking about? So,
Well, I think the irony of all of this is, had we, as a community, kind of adopted former Mayor Gantz's vision back in the 90s, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, but I think
So
part
true.
of the discussion is kind of how it, the impact broadly. And certainly buses are a great asset. But when we look at how this tax will pass, ultimately, the black voters generally have a propensity to vote for these things more than others. So in my mind, the question is, how is that economic reward spread amongst the folks who make it happen? You talked about the two different tracks that what the act allows you to do, which is, as you stated, those particular things. But the direct consequence, the highly correlated adverse impact of displacement is what warrants the discussion. It justifies it. I mean, we aren't people out here just raising up this topic out of the blue and trying to hold the tax hostage. We know this happens because of it. And one last comment. So the $44 million that has been spent for displacement, we've looked into how it's being spent. It's certainly helpful, but there's no scenario where it is targeting the areas that are going to face severe pressure because of the tax. So that's our proposition. We're saying, thank you for what you've done. Keep doing that. There's not enough money for what we need to do today. We must have more funds to address
that is
this.
being to your point though, Bob, because you've lifted those issues up, and that specific issue, that is something that is being discussed as we speak right now to be able to address that. And when I say
It's
discuss,
lifted because you invited us to. So I want to thank you as the
appreciate it.
sole elected official in this discussion that is engaged community in what I consider to be a respectful way. Thank you.
No, thank
No,
you.
but I know.
That's that. I'm not going to let you do that to all my former colleagues, because your number one, outside of Mark on the county side, your number one advocate on this, I don't even think is supporting it, and that's LaWanda Mayfield. LaWanda wants to do everything that you talked about and then some. And I keep thinking the stuff that we've been talking about.
I'll restate that.
The stuff that we, yeah, right. The stuff that we have.
As
I thought
the
you,
leading
I thought you
elected
would.
official,
I
not
thought
just
you
so,
would.
but the leading engaging one. Thank you.
I thought you would.
That's fair. That's fair.
And
Well, but to finish that, what I'm saying is that the majority of what you're talking about, right, is going to be happen at the county and the city, not with the
it's not
authority.
the tax.
I mean, the authority cannot spend money on the stuff you're talking about.
Add the business community in there
we-
too,
and we understand
because everybody has to have skin in the
Yes.
game.
Well,
Absolutely.
and we were in a meeting with Bank of America yesterday. He's saying they got money. They've been trying to get people to take advantage of. They can't keep people to take. Well, I'm just telling you.
That's what he said.
But I'm just telling you what the man said. But the point I'm making is that there are a lot of people that want to figure this out.
Right.
I do think that there's some
And you've helped with
expectations.
that too, by the way.
There's some expectations of saying that you should get. I think we send the wrong message when we start saying we should have been spending money on the assumption that it's going to pass. I think some of this has to happen as we get closer to it, because you don't want the public to say, well, they're already allocating money for displacement, so they're taking our vote for granted.
But the challenge is
No,
the
I'm just telling
private
you, that's
sector
one-
real estate industry, which I'm part of, has been acting on this for several years. And so
But they started acting on it when we started talking about alignment. That's what real estate does. I mean, so that's just speculation.
But
what I'm talking about is the displacement that government can spend money on comes not before the project, because it sends the wrong message that we're taking you for granted. The time to have that conversation will be immediately after, if it passes. But if you start doing that ahead of time, you will. Can I say? I can't say piss in church. You will make mad. I said it,
but
all
are you-
right?
are you
You will make
already
mad
said
the
it.
east side,
It's a
the
Baptist
west
church, you're
side.
but you're asking people to trust you for something that might happen
But government
tomorrow
has
when
process.
we have the process and the ideas and the environment to address it today. And that's what we need to.
How many African Americans on the county commission?
It's not
No,
an
for real.
issue of that.
How many?
Oh, what do we got? 6?
Yeah.
On city council, people of color, probably 7.
7.
I mean, so the people
That's-
they do. So this, I heard President Obama say this past week. This idea that we gotta keep holding the trust level to the 60s and the 50s is not true, because things have changed. Because the leaders in charge have changed. We have made progress in this one. We don't have to go back to the 50s and say y'all didn't do us right then. Not when we're the ones at the table making the decisions. So should you hold the elected
But
officials
you just told us
account?
yesterday that you did not make the decision that gave the corporate community 3 seats on the
No, I'm
authority.
talking about I'm talking the stuff you're talking about. The county commission decides on, and the city council decides on. Displacement is not going to be the authority at all.
So let me just, because
Yeah,
to
stop us.
the average viewer, they're probably their heads are spinning. I want to kind of lean in with you, Councilman Howard, because you have, like you said, the experience of running running the Federal Highway Administration, as well as having served the state and the city. So, I mean, for all of this, just to kind of encapsulate this conversation, what are the examples that you can kind of raise that Bobby kind of alluded to around the country where you said this can work and this is how?
Well, the one that comes to mind that I was prepared to talk about, and I have to think about that a little harder. The one that comes to mind right away, though, is the history that we learned watching Atlanta and Birmingham grow. I've heard this story many times, is that, if you go back to the early 60s, Birmingham was going to be the city of the New South. I mean, think about it. Martin Luther King could have done what he did in Atlanta. He moved to Birmingham to do it. I mean, Birmingham was in the middle of Alabama. They were trying to make an example, and that's where, the story goes that the transit money was going there. Mm-hmm. Birmingham kind of sneezed on it. They didn't take it. Atlanta took it. Birmingham's not growing. Atlanta's exploded. I mean, a lot of these investments kind of bring that type of attention. It brings the federal, I can tell you, if we don't keep in line with this federal relationship with keeping the money coming here, it will go someplace else.
Tell them how much it is, though.
I mean, we're talking about $6 billion that we want to apply for to help to offset the cost of the Silver Line, the Red Line, and maybe even the Gold Line. So, I mean, we're talking about money that if you don't, because I know how hard it is to get the attention of the people we're talking about. I mean, really, Raleigh, y'all, and I'm on camera, so I'm sorry for all to see this. They don't care about helping Charlotte. That's just not at the top of their list. We are a rural state. I mean, really, you can ride 8 hours from Murphy to Manio and still be in the state of North Carolina. You can get to Washington faster. You can get between the 2 points of our state. I mean, there's a lot pulling on this, and the majority of it is rural. So, I mean, to have, that's why I'm telling you, it's a freaking miracle to have, y'all go using other language. Can I use say freaking? I guess I did.
No question.
It's a freaking miracle to have this Senate and the House and the government even care.
That's what I think is interesting that you're kind of bringing up. This is competition. Like, this is just not.
It's not just.
This is not just money.
It's not
on
just
the,
local. It's
right.
not even just state. It's national.
There's other
because there are other
communities
communities
in line
want
for that
this
federal
money.
match. The money that he mentioned,
They're
there's
sitting
other
in line.
communities in line. So
They want us to
if
say
we
no.
stiff arm, guess what? We're at the back of the line, and other communities step up. And so there are implications. There are other implications. I mean, that federal match is not $6 billion is nothing to sneeze at. Yeah. That's a significant portion of funding that I don't have to ask our folks to fund. The other point that I want to make with this sales tax is 30% of the folks that will fund it are from outside of Mecklenburg County. There's also one point that we didn't raise was this. There are exclusions to what can be taxed. When you think about medicine, you think about food, you think about gas. Yes. So there are exclusions that have been put in place, some guardrails as well. So not saying it's perfect, okay? And here's where I really want to be clear, Dave, and I know you get ready to jump in. Yeah. But if I could just be clear on this one thing. I've never, whether it's behind closed doors or in public, have advocated that this is a perfect plan. I've tried to be consistent with saying I've weighed out the options. I've tried to balance it to the best way that I can. And I've tried to give the factors that I've taken into consideration to draw my conclusion. I respect everyone that draws different conclusions. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a perfect plan by any stretch. What I do believe, though, it is a start to get us moving into the type of community that we need to be, to position us. We're the 14th largest community in the most powerful country on the planet. We cannot play around with the way we're growing. Like we don't have a choice to play around. But do we have to do the things that have been lifted up? Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm gonna finish with the national question that he asked me, which is, so I think what's come to mind since I've been sitting there thinking is that I'm the only one on this panel that's actually sat in the room with the secretary when they were trying to figure out where they were going to put the grant money. I mean, I was the guy. I mean, there were several times I had to defend whether it was going to go to California, go to a port in Norfolk. I mean, you know, we sat in these rooms trying to figure it out. And I'm telling you, the criteria a lot of time is whether or not that community is serious about building out their system. I can tell you that when the communities came up and said, you know, they played around with the match last time, let's put it somewhere where they actually have decided they really want to do this. So now I've been at that table when I saw Secretary Fox said, well, let's send it here, let's send it here, let's send it here. And the factors that are taken into account, a lot of it is whether or not they have the match and whether or not they're serious about building out their system. So the idea that we could get out of line and somebody else could be in front of us is real.
It has a consequence.
It absolutely has consequences.
I wanted to ask you a question about your response, saying that we can't do things in anticipation of. So all I know is what I read in the paper, perhaps go to council meetings and read their agendas. And I'm pretty sure I recall the city committing $50 million to study the Silver Line of Matthews, which of course isn't going. So that was in anticipation of that. I also am certain that the city spent $91 million for the red line to North Mecklenburg. That was in anticipation of the tax passing. And even more interesting to me is in that $91 million, $17 million was spent to buy land for the train station uptown, which must happen. But I feel that there should also have been some money spent to buy some land for affordable housing. So I think there's some things that have not happened that are sometimes not considered and lead a person like me to say, I got to spend my time doing this, that, and other thing so we can be heard. And one challenge I have had with this.
What you're asking is a really more technical, because what you're talking about is them spending transportation money, different from the fact that the money that they're spending on those projects could not be spent on the things that you're talking about. So I just want to make sure we divide that up.
But my understanding of what you said to me was that if things are done in anticipation of it happening, it would not be received well.
If the housing money was set aside for just West Boulevard and Wilkinson when the east side is still struggling, that could potentially be.
Well, I didn't say it had.
Well, no, I'm just telling you. It could potentially.
I said for affordable housing.
But she just told you they have 44 million set aside for it, so they are doing it.
Let me ask you, gentlemen, and
not correct.
Well, ladies here, this question: is there a difference between? Now, I'm a former speechwriter. Is there a difference between anticipation or planning? Or are they interchangeable? Or are we talking about the same thing?
So what Bobby just kind of talked about was, and the red line is a different animal. I won't try that one. But the money spent on the silver line and on the gold line is part of that process of getting ready to apply for federal money.
Okay.
So you have to do environmental impacts. You have to do the plans to make sure that they make sense. That's transportation money set aside to do that. That's why you can't mix apples and oranges on this one. They're not the same thing.
It's the viability.
It's the viability of making sure that you're keeping that process going so that if we do get this money, we are already ready to say, feds, we're this far down the line, literally.
But I'm not saying the money had to come from that. I'm saying if our values as a community are that we want to provide affordable housing in these areas that we know are going to gentrify, could we not have spent some money for that? So I'm just saying, let's just look at what we all want to keep.
There's a correlation between housing and transportation, but I think just to kind of keep it a little cleaner, we should focus on
keep it clean.
Transportation.
But the housing, the adverse impact on housing, the shortage of opportunity is a direct result of passing the tax. You cannot separate them.
Can you?
But there is the housing trust fund, the housing bond,
to be on the board for
100 and you know this, $100 million that taxpayers approved that renews every 2 years. $44 million is set aside for anti-displacement, and we sat in the meeting when we understood what is currently happening. There are still dollars available, and we were both also in the meeting when they clearly said that they are working with community to community to understand the specific needs of each community and answering those needs. So there is a path. There is a path.
What happens when government tips their hand saying that they're going to buy land?
Well, I think
what goes up in cost?
It goes up, right?
Way up in cost.
And so here's I just
good point.
I just want us to be very clear that I think we have a lot of folks sitting in the rooms that look just like us.
We do.
That come to churches like this,
no pacifier, no all these churches that we historically attend and come to and worship, fellowship. I believe there is a keen understanding of what we need to do. We can walk. It's crystal clear.
It's crystal clear.
It's crystal clear.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful. There are entities that are much. They can maneuver much faster than what government can do. Yeah. Much faster. Mm-hmm. They're not tied to the same constraints that government and moving. And so we have to be extremely careful on how we move. When we pounce, I believe you will see us pounce in a way that is that is productive. That it's done in a way that it's in mass in different ways, and we just have to be really careful about. Even though maybe the plan is not on paper in front of everyone, those of us that have been elected, that y'all have access to, everybody that's watching here has access to us, know that we understand what's at stake.
Sure. The $44 million for anti-displacement has a variety of assets that it is directed to. And a lot of those are developer-driven, not community-driven. They are not for areas specifically that are going to be impacted by this tax, where the expansion of rail will heighten displacement measures. So the request is to hedge against that, which is highly correlated. You can't separate them. It ain't no two different tracks.
I think we have all said, and I started with this and said, there are two different tracks. One is the bill itself, and the other is unintended consequences. We are all very concerned about anti-displacement.
A lot of them run side by side. Would you agree?
They're still separate. They're still separate.
And I'm not saying it ought to come out of the tax money. I'm saying local resources, including
I think we're all agreeing with you. That's the point.
Yeah,
but what I've been trying to do is to get you to point it to the place where it belongs. That's a city, county business issue.
We've always done that. We've never had any discussion about Raleigh or choice tax, and we've never said that.
But the point I want to make is, as you are having those conversations, we keep coming back to
displacement.
Right.
Well, we come back to the alliance until those people, and they're not the ones deciding that part of this.
They're going to move because
they're the benefactors of it.
They're not of affordable housing displacement.
Bobby, you're talking about
tax as a whole.
No, they're not. The black community is. I just told you we're getting $10 billion of it.
They're equally beneficial to it.
So.
But I think too the consensus of the conversation is like, how do we, in the words of Deion Sanders, keeping the main thing the main thing.
Thank you. Keep the main thing, because both of those things have to happen. Anti-displacement is not new. These conversations should be elevated years ago, because gentrification happens, and then unfortunately, because of gentrification, sometimes people are displaced. Property values for a number of different reasons. And I do have to correct you, Bobby. There's money still available, and I don't want to debate the 44.
We like the property values increase. It's the tax bill that comes with it.
You make my next point is, when are we changing the conversation to helping people be able to pay their taxes because it went up?
A lot of them retired.
But
that's
the whole point.
You don't turn away the investment for that. You create a program which the county.
That's my point.
We have the homes program.
You don't turn away $19 billion because we need to figure out a program for that.
And that's the only point.
And I think that's where our members are interested in, particularly
and that's
they're
what
serving.
Our document asks for is more money.
These are pastors who are serving and marginalized, evolving, gentrifying neighborhoods.
I've seen some of these cars in some of these churches. Pastors, now listen.
I'm trying to get them to say yes. Don't call them out. But you know the other thing, and I hate to feel like I'm the farthest.
But if you have the, hold on.
But I want to talk about that.
Interesting conversation about this. Hold on.
I'm not talking about Pastor Cars.
They know I'm kidding.
No, we're not talking about Pastor Cars, but
Jamal.
We're not talking about pastors' cars, but what we're saying is how
I was talking about the congregants.
They vote for you, Mark.
Well, no, how the community is evolving. Like when we think about our friends at St. Paul over in Belmont, how
So it's
on Allen,
Yeah.
like how the community has changed around them and how they've,
It's intentionality, because the other hat that I wear that I hadn't even talked about is I spent 18 years working in this industry because I worked for the Housing Partnership. In fact, I led the redevelopment of Double Oaks. I mean, and he'll know that the whole purpose of that one is to make sure it was mixed income. It's not as mixed as we like because a lot of it took off, but to Mark's point, to the chairs earlier, but once we figured out what it was going to be, it took off. I mean, you can't do stuff in the public quiet. I mean, thank God the city had the Housing Partnership, but even some of what we did had to be public. I mean, a lot of this has to be some intentionality, which is what Bobby's asking for. And by the way, Jamal, you got thrown into a conversation we've all been having for like 6 months. So I'm sorry. I mean, so we're talking shorthand each other because we've been saying this.
And it's important to understand that we support everything in your document. We support it. The point is there is a path that we must follow. We're talking about a 30-year plan. We should hold people accountable. And if people who are not, who should be supporting the plan are not supporting the plan, we should be electing different people. That's how this works. You have to use the systems, the structures, and processes that are available to get things done. Not necessarily today. It's very important.
Up my friend Luana. Luana is all over this one.
Absolutely.
I mean, she will be the first one to point and redirect and everything else.
That's right.
So I mean, you got the right advocates ready to run with this one. We keep talking to the wrong people.
And I do have to clarify one thing.
But we're talking to the wrong people.
Well, the challenge is to vote for something with hopes that this gets addressed, because we've done that before.
Bobby, your county manager looks like you. Your city manager looks like you. Your mayor looks like you. Your county commissioner looks like you. They are very concerned. And can you say that you were just in an anti-displacement meeting yesterday, focusing on the issues?
Absolutely.
So these things are happening. They are happening, and you have to hold them accountable. And we're not a monolithic society, so I can't say that we all agree on everything just because we look like. We all know that's not true. Right. But I can tell you that they are very concerned about the issues that you raise, that they are very much in alignment around the issues that you raise, and that you should continue to keep your foot on the gas along with all of us.
I've been telling you that for 6 months. I said, you are right. And you're changing the conversation, but you got to tell me what you want.
Hold me accountable.
Bobby, what do you want?
But don't say no.
To the camera. Tell the people what you want.
Don't say no to $19.4 billion and 1.3 million jobs, because we still need to figure this out. This is not new. It's already. So why all of a sudden now we got to stop it?
Well,
and keep it going. This is not new.
So I got you. So
tell them what
I got you.
In terms of the timing of it, quite frankly, in that comment I made in terms of Mark's receptivity may not have been as accurate as it should have been, but we spent a fair amount of time being redirected, and it's really not how the community should have been treated, honestly. And it may not have been by elected officials, but it's been by proponents of this effort. And it shouldn't happen that way. So that's what happened a lot of that time. Is the fact. So perhaps we were a little behind forwarding this. So what we want is a commitment for funding for anti-displacement, these corridors that are going to be impacted by rail. And we want it now before we vote for it. Like I said at a meeting a few weeks ago, I am a no until this happens.
But we just talked about yesterday, before November, their feasibility studies, their financial models, there's a lot of things that have to happen in order to.
Yeah, just like that happened to study the red line. Just like it was to study the silver line, money was spent.
That took years. That did not just happen.
And we know this has been coming for years, just like that's been known for years.
I mean,
so it's not a much different proposition. The question is, where are we willing to spend our money, and what commands that? And I'm in this industry. I have some context for what you're saying. I appreciate it. But at the end of the day, this vote only passes black people vote for it. And we should be economic benefactors. I don't mean it's a guy like me who can do a deal. I'm saying, why is my quality of life in some areas really not much different if I'm voting for this? In my neighborhood where we are, we've been paying for this tax 25 years. We got less bus service today than we had when it started, and we're not going to have any more as a result of it. And it is true.
It's not.
No, listen to me, please. To move me to these main corridors to get on these buses every 15 minutes does not take into account the amount of time it takes me to get to the new routes. So you can't tell me it's going to save me time.
That is literally how the world works. We are
Sure,
currently
I
the
understand
13th.
that. I got it.
But
I
we
got
have
it.
to also think about the fact that our community is changing.
I'm
With the
not
number of people
denying
coming in,
that.
we will have more people who are dependent on public transportation, and getting to a public transit stop to a transfer. Transfers are free, by the way. Will be.
It's about the amount of time that it
and
takes
it's not good
us.
for you also to play down microtransit. For our seniors who need microtransit, the ability for $1.10 to pick up the phone and call for a ride to get where they need to go, not only within that corridor. There are 19 microtransit corridors throughout the county, in places where there is public transportation today and places where there is not. You know that the buses are not being replaced because microtransit is replacing the buses. So I have to respond to those things, because when you let those things hang out like that, we're not telling the whole truth.
And that's why I said what I said, because every forum that we go to, the first thing we hear is that buses going to be more frequent. It's going to be every 15 minutes. It cuts the time in half. It fails to talk about how long it takes to get to these routes. So the microtransit system you described is part of that, but it's not instantaneous. It's not saving us 15 minutes. So what I'm saying to you is, let's say all the time. Let's say all the time.
Instantaneous.
I know, but
what is instantaneous? Talk about a ride that you can call right now, Bobby.
None.
So but for you to have a car, Bobby, think about what you're saying. You have a car.
Mm-hmm.
I just told you the number of black people that depend on bus and rail, Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
I told you about the number of black people who have cars that are not fixed.
Mm-hmm.
They have cars, they can't afford to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
I told you about the number of people overall who depend on public transportation. I just said to you, for $1.10, seniors can call a car to pick them up, a ride share to pick them up. For me, it will be $2.20. And you're complaining about waiting for 15 minutes?
No, what I said is, you're not telling the whole story. What's being said is, these are going to be more frequent runs of buses every 15 minutes, so it saves you time. I'm just simply saying you should also say you got to get to the bus stop. I didn't say it doesn't have merit. I didn't say it's not good.
Let's say everybody get to a bus stop.
I know
Bobby.
that,
What you talking about,
but
Bobby?
what you're saying
wait.
is that you now will have your commute time cut, right? That's what the whole better bus system is.
Commute time cut is about cars.
Okay, but hold on. No. So what I'm
That's
saying
about
is,
synchronized green lights and not
what
having to
I'm
be stuck
saying
in
is,
traffic.
the bus routes are
I'm about
reduced.
that. Okay.
And the buses,
don't follow the sided.
the
Come
system
back,
with the
Jamal. Don't
buses,
follow the
when the
sided.
buses are
All I'm
coming,
saying is that the bus
the
routes
red
are
lights will
reduced.
know that
that.
buses are coming, and they will
Yes,
clear the
I do
way.
think microtransit is a great vehicle. Yes, I do.
For people on
I
your
do.
street and all the seniors
I
on
do.
your feet for $1.10
So
can
All
get
I'm
to
saying is,
doctors.
it's not moving us quicker like y'all are
DeAlva, Bobby,
saying.
can I say something?
Yeah, please. I'm just saying, say the whole story. That's all. I'm not saying
The
this-
whole story.
the
If you want
But
to do the
Bobby,
whole
that's not a
story,
good
me and you
point.
talked about this walking in, this whole story, because we're talking about the very community we're in, McCoy Heights and Garden Park. What happened is that over time, that whole, if one time we had number 7, then we had the routes that went down to the neighborhoods every now and again, because they didn't go down every time a bus came down. They went down once an hour. Then we went to the village rider, because this is about an evolving transportation system. It's not about a system staying stagnant. Then we had neighborhoods that complained about the buses coming around the neighborhoods and tearing streets up. I mean, we didn't get here because somebody was trying to take away service. We got here because services evolve. And what we're doing now is bringing in new technology, which is called microtransit. It is a rave across the country right now. Truth be told, it started. Here I go again doing Forrest Gump. It started under my administration out in Wilson, North Carolina. We went away from fixed routes during COVID. That's where it started. So, I mean, this whole idea is to give people opportunities to move around individually, not on buses, but in these smaller vehicles, so that we're not running big buses, but we're getting people where they need to go inside of these zones. It's innovation. I mean, the system's going to keep evolving. What happens when we add drones to it? What happens when we add scooters to it? We should have a system that's evolving. So what you're not telling us the whole story to say that it has evolved over time. It didn't just get taken from us. It evolved. And it's still evolving, because that's why we're going to add microtransit. It's evolving. Nobody's taking anything from us. It's getting better for us. That's what's happening. So tell the whole story.
Okay, David.
That one you're not going to beat me on. I know that story. So
We're all winners, because the community's voices are being lifted up, right? They're being elevated and they're being amplified. And it holds us all accountable to making sure that we do the right thing, that we produce the right outcomes. And that's really what we're here to do.
all I care about.
And when you think about,
That's all we are.
as an elected official, you know, one of the things, DeAlva lifted up something because I thought it was a very important point, pastors, when we talk about the folks that are in the room. And, you know, and I hate that Bobby, you, and others may have been excluded at certain points in certain spaces. Typically, you know, with myself or Vi or others, you all are not excluded, regardless of where we're coming down. So
I agree with that.
I don't know about those rooms, but what I can say is, and I've said this to the mayor, and I've said this to both county managers who look like us, this is frankly about legacy. So as an elected official, I can tell you this, Jamal, I wake up every day and my prayer is that I can be a miracle for somebody. And I only say that to say that as I wrestle with any policy, any initiative, any engagement in the community, it is critical for me to always have a lens that there is nothing that could make me sell my people out.
Nothing.
That's
There
never a
is
question
nothing.
about you, Mark.
Now,
Absolutely.
there can be
Absolutely.
policy distinctions, differences. We look at the same set of facts and draw different conclusions, and I respect that 1,000%. But at the end of the day, I want exactly what everyone is saying. I want all of those things. And I look at this work beyond us sitting and being able to have this honor of talking to these pastors and with you and these public-facing conversations, because really where the work is done as an elected official is really, it is behind closed doors, unfortunately. And that doesn't mean that it's nefarious. That just means
We
that
Baptists, we used to close doors.
yeah, right, you're used to the closed doors. Thank you.
Parking lot meetings after the meeting.
But the point is,
We narrowed down the good
that's where,
options. We
as
don't try to do it all.
David knows, that's where the work is done. The policy is
relationships.
not done out front. It is behind closed doors, and it is addressing those things that need to be addressed. And so, pastors, if you don't take anything else away from this conversation, obviously you can take away the complexity of it.
Yeah.
The decision is not easy. You understand what we have to balance. You understand the players in the room, and you understand the concerns. And you've heard it from folks that could clearly articulate those positions. And just know that at the end of the day, we all know that we're on the same team, because our ultimate goal is always going to be our people.
Amen.
And to lead this community better than we found it when we got involved.
No question.
Only reason.
No
Because it's
question.
not the money. Mark will tell you that. So,
Okay, closing arguments. Would you like to have anything else to add?
ladies first.
You know, this has been a really interesting position for me in terms of where I sit on this particular issue. As I said before, I agree with everything. There's nothing, and you know this, there's nothing that's come forth that I disagree with. And I certainly want that for our community, everything that you have, that you're fighting for. I'm going to be fighting with you. And am fighting with you, as you know. I'm working with you. You should say that. You don't give me credit. We're working for you.
I'll say that in my statement. I do give you credit. I appreciate you.
I'm just, but we are already fighting for those things. But it is a very complex issue that we have to understand, and we have to separate, and we need all of it, and we need to find a path forward where all of these things can happen. I am committed to the 1.3. I'm just so motivated by these jobs that are coming. That is literally why I drive around this community and I see our people on the street every day with nothing to do, and I'm motivated by those jobs. That's why I'm out here fighting and getting beat up every day about some of these things. And I really want to make sure that people understand that it's important to keep the people first in all of this, and keep our people first.
That's right.
And when we do this work, we have to make sure that we're on different ends of the spectrum of a number of different things, but this plan solves for all of that, regardless of who you are, where you live in this county, what color you are, any of those things. This is not a plan that leaves African Americans behind. I know that's a prevailing thought, but that is not what this is.
Well said.
The anti-displacement issues, the contracting issues, and all the issues that we have been facing for years. This is not solved, and it was never intended to solve. And so the fight that we have to have, I think the work that has come forth in terms of a lot of the energy and the passion around fighting some of these issues that may be unintended consequences or even exacerbated a little bit, I think you built great momentum for us to continue. I think that was the purpose of what this is. So I see a path that both can that can happen. We pulled together the right people to lead this and also to make this a P3 solution. But the work has to happen, and we have to do it in a greater level of alignment than we have today. We're saying the same thing, we're saying it in different ways. We're talking in different corners of different people as if one's wrong. Nobody's wrong, we're both right. And so now is the time for us to begin to work together and to keep our foot on the gas around these things because they don't go away. We have an anti-displacement issue whether this passes or not. So let's talk about how do we continue this momentum and build on this momentum that we have. I'm interested in that conversation. I'm also interested in a much more empowering conversation. I don't believe that, first of all, Black people don't qualify for the authority. I also don't believe that we shouldn't be talking about how to empower our people to make more money instead of worried about their taxes. I get that. But it's time for us as a community. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to save us. And so while we are talking about our hands out here and there, we really have to talk about our collective interest. There are so many people in this community who are doing well, who are not a part of this conversation, who would be welcome to be invited in with a concrete plan and something specific to do. But we can't keep coming across as if we're complaining. I know you're not doing that, but coming across as if we're complaining, but we don't have a solution. We should be inviting them to our solution. And that's the conversation that I'm interested in going forward.
Well said.
Go ahead.
Bob, you don't get the last word because you're going to negate everything you just said.
You got last.
I'm
word.
just messing with you, Bobby.
So the only thing that comes to mind for me to kind of end this one is that, I'm thinking about the streetcar fight. Anybody in the audience may remember that when Anthony Fox was our mayor, we had this conversation about investing in the streetcar that was going to run along Central and Batesville Road. Just to show you the tenacity that we have about this subject is that, I lost support. I had people that had supported me for years tell me they couldn't support me. And they said stuff like, David, I just don't know. And they said it just like this. I don't know, David. It's not enough development opportunity. And it was Anthony when he came back as secretary for an event when we were cutting the ribbon on the streetcar, digging the dirt, breaking ground. He said, the problem with this conversation is that every time they talk about, this streetcar to nowhere, they're telling the people that live there that they live nowhere. You're telling them they don't matter. If nothing else, this plan, because I just told you, two of the biggest projects run east and west. They're going to hear from this community they matter. That's what this is about to me. When I was on city council, Mark, you get this, I didn't mind supporting stuff like professional sports. Stuff like that makes sense to a city our size. But if at the end of the day, what we're not doing is looking for opportunities to invest in our areas, then we're missing the whole point in having this power. And for me, and I want to, off camera, I want to thank Kevin and my friend there because they've been helping me with the reason why it matters to me. It's because of the generations to come. My grandson is over there. I want to make sure that when he gets to that point, whether he has a car or not, he can live in this community and participate in its economic viability. All those words. I couldn't figure that out. I want to make sure he's part of that. He's going to turn 3 next week. I want him to be able to say, my papa did everything he could to make sure this community will serve my generation and his kids.
Well, I don't have any grandkids yet, but I hope to have some. And what you just said, but we are here today, right? And we are in an environment where it's challenging folks more. We got taxes increasing in a couple fronts. This is cumulatively a problem for some folks. And so I think that warrants consideration. Yeah, you have to look forward, but many things we're doing today at the expense of people today for people who might come here tomorrow. And I'm just challenged by that, truly. Yeah, there are lots of good things about this transit plan. I was on the transit committee 25 years ago.
We were on it together.
Yeah, the very first committee I was on was a CTAC. And then you put me on the committee. I just got a lot of knowledge. So, there's a lot of merit in this effort. you know, my thought about it is not simply that it solves everything for us. Government cannot do that. We have a responsibility. I'm in an industry that's very dependent on government and benefits from it. I don't do many government projects, so I don't make a living that way. I've done 2, government deals in 20 years, so I don't make a living on government. And I understand how to not do that. And most of us do. Very few people are dependent on government for their lives. At the core of this, we got a tax that does benefit black people a lot, and that's great. And we are the people who will vote for it. And I'm just challenged by the fact that the economic benefits of it are not coming to us as much as we contribute to making it happen. That's my view. Another side to this whole thing is it's not just the $25 billion of public money, it's the private sector match, which is generally 5 to 1, I think. So that'd be another 125.
You mean indirect, because it's not direct. It's
sure.
not direct.
Thank you so much. So it'd be another $125 billion of private sector development and investment and et cetera. In our current light rail system, I would love to know how many black companies worked in there, how many black people have businesses there, are there black restaurants in South End? I don't know of one. So we're going to take our money and create all this opportunity for other folks. That's a challenge for me. So I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. I just think we can do better than we're doing. And the minimal is to say, here's some money for anti-displacement right now. Sure, we're behind, but again, the engagement, and we own a lot of that. I was very central to drafting that document. I was a little behind, so I own that. But the concept's been out there a long time, just like the plan, the study to go to Matthews has been out there for a long time. It got $50 million. The line to go to North Mecklenburg got $91 million. And I have not seen a full commitment for that. We should not compete for current dollars for anti-displacement for an initiative that is about to happen because of our vote. It should be committed up front. So I know y'all have done work. I do appreciate that. Been a little tiring for me, but I appreciate what y'all have done, including you, David. But I'm a no until something changes. And we got a couple weeks to change it. And I'll do everything I can. I spent all day today on this. I spent all day yesterday on it. I will do everything I can to help us get to a point. For my purposes, like I said in a meeting a few weeks ago with a lot of us, I'm a no until it changes. And it's a fair proposition. That's all we're asking for. Some money for anti-displacement is the answer to your question. That's what we want. We want a commitment today because we've been down this road before with these folks. Yeah, I'm playing to the camera, but it is the truth for all of us as black people. We've been down this road too many times, and I'm not going back down it again. But I do respect what y'all have done professionally and appreciate your support, understand what we need to do for this community. We should not do it this way. This is not a lot to ask for. We can do this.
Our leader, Mr. Chairman.
Well, let me just say thank you for the conversation. Thank you for hosting it. You were great to allow us this space and this time. I think I had an opportunity to speak before, so I want to make this brief. We certainly, when you think about the Blue Line, there are certainly lessons that we had to learn from the Blue Line. We have to do better. I believe there's the right amount of people that are fully committed to making sure that we have the opportunity to participate economically without question, address issues of displacement, while we're balancing the growth of this community and the need to move people in a way that's productive and constructive. And so that's certainly what we'll continue to do. The work continues. The work has been going on. The work continues. We will continue to make sure that we produce the level of outcomes that the community hasn't seen in the past. I can't make promises. That's not what I do. And that really falls short. The proof will be in the pudding. But I can guarantee you that I believe that my legacy, or part of my legacy, is tied to this. It's tied to what I say on camera. It's tied to what I say behind closed doors. And I'm going to make sure that I hold people accountable. And as you hold me accountable, I ask that you help me show up. Let's make sure that we have other conversations beyond transit. What else do we need to be doing in our communities? What do we need to be doing from an education front with our children? What do we need to be doing with workforce development and access to programs?
in making sure that our children and our families are participating in those programs and those opportunities that are available today, absent a tax, absent anything else. There are mechanisms and things that we have to put in place for our families to be able to thrive beyond transit. That's another conversation that everyone that's watching this can have within their houses of faith, having in their communities, and having in the broader community. So thank you again. Thank you all for being here and your contributions today.
Well, we've heard a lot. This has been a very robust, enlightening conversation, and I thank each of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. On behalf of our moderator, Dr. Thomas Farrell Jr. and the Executive Board, we thank you for the investment that you have made in this opportunity and the work that you're already doing to build community and provide access and opportunity. And as people of faith, we're thankful for the miracles that has already happened for this to even be a consideration. So thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
We appreciate you.
Appreciate it, sir. Pleasure to meet you.
Bobby's World.
So good to meet you.
A pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All this Judy Smith, Jush.
That's my muse. That's my muse.